space flight, and where we were going, and how Gene Roddenberry had, how beautifully he had explored the possibilities, and what he could have done had they not cut him off, because they went, what is he talking about? Outer space. Nobody's going to outer space, but not in our lifetime. That was the brilliant studio heads from New York on down. But there were those who understood it. And I was one of the starry-eyed ones who knew the possibilities and wanted to explore the possibilities. Ever since I was a little girl, I wanted to grow up and be an astronaut. I didn't know it was going to be called astronaut really at that point, because we hadn't really planned to go to the moon. But in my explorations, mental explorations, I knew we were. The Earth is too small to countenance what we have done. How far the imagination can go. And I always thought that's why outer space was created. For us. Because I haven't met anybody from out there yet. Or they haven't contacted me, and I'm the communications officer. I had a wonderful experience. I have a wonderful child, Kyle Johnson, who started in the learning tree. If you ever saw that wonderful picture about the little boy's exploration of his imagination. And, but I was always fascinated with the possibilities of where we could go. And I always knew from a little girl we were going to the moon. That was a foregone conclusion. That was not a big deal. It was those other places. And how many are there in the universe? In the known universe. And I used to ask my daddy, my father, Daddy, can we go to the moon? He says, of course, it'll be in your lifetime. And I said, oh, good, because I have friends there. My father said, I'm sure you do, dear. And he always took me seriously. When I grow up, I'm going to be a star. I'm going to play all of these characters. And I'm going to do something to show people what it's like to go not only the moon, but past the moon. And I was telling this to Gene Roddenberry one day, who had cast me in a series that he had 3 years before Star Trek. And Gene said, really? And so I said, yes, and he says, let's go to lunch. I was there for a fitting for whatever we were doing. And he said, let me take you to lunch. And I said, well, I have a fitting. He said, it'll be there when you get back. And that was for Star Trek. And I didn't know why he had called me yet, because he hadn't even told my agent. So we go to lunch near the studio, and we got to talking, and we get into this deep conversation, and I let my mind soar and about what the possibilities were and where we were going, and how well we would do, and how well we might not do. If the great if our children aren't educated and prepared, if we don't believe, if we don't support our space program, and it hadn't even taken off yet. We hadn't gone to the moon yet. And my dad, in his inimitable way, with all of his children, he never laughed us off and said, well, yes, but maybe someday. He empowered the imagination. And it was like lift off. No matter what I wanted to do in my life, I wanted to be a ballerina when I was yay high. And my mother would say, Samuel, don't fill our heads with all of those things, the possibilities. You know, there's never going to be a black ballerina. There's nobody on television that looks like us, so honey. I said, but Mommy. Well, Daddy said, come here, honey. Chicken, he called me. Chicken, little chicken. Sit here. Of course, there's going to be. Do you know why? Because you have put it in the ether. And God is listening. I said, she is.